The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
This is Montgomery Mosaic on 1450 WOL, WPRS, HD2, and worldwide on WOLDCnews.com. Montgomery Mosaic features topics of interest to Montgomery County residents, businesses, and visitors. Here now is your host, Deborah Milo.
Well, good morning, Montgomery County, and welcome to the March edition of Montgomery Mosaic. I'm your host, Deborah Milo. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Well, believe it or not, spring is on the way, and there's so much to do to get ready, especially when it comes to our environment and some sustainability. My guest today will talk about programs listeners can take advantage of this spring to get home and yard ready. And they're also going to talk about ways to green your home and your yard. I'd like to welcome Jessica Jones and Laura Miller from the Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection. Ladies, thank you so much for coming on to Montgomery Mosaic. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
I'd like to begin by asking each of you, and I know we talked a little bit about this in the green room, to share a bit about your career path that led you to work within environmental protection. Jessica, let's start with you.
Well, I guess I got started in high school with taking my first AP Environmental Science class. I was lucky that my school offered that as an option for students, getting started in the sciences. And I remember just seeing in the class and realizing how all the different science programs connected to the environment, how it brought everything together. And that just led to me taking the classes in college, and then I just found my way towards a trajectory. Doing the environmental education portion happened when I connected my love of the environment with my ability to talk a lot. So
you don't talk a lot, not at all.
Exactly. Being able to bring those things together to have a career, and then I found it amazing being able to work in Montgomery County with our residents.
Isn't it wonderful to be able to connect the dots when you're that young in school? Not that you're not young now, but, you know, when you're in school and you're still trying to make those decisions and make those choices about what you want to do when you grow up. Yeah. It's nice to be able to connect the dots. Laura, what prompted you to seek a career in environmental protection?
Well, not to upstage Jessica, but I was about 12 years old when I fell in love with the forest.
I see. Wow. My high school is not early enough. I see.
I fell in love with the forest at 12, and I always went back to being in the forest and as a forester. And so I became a forester, and then I moved on to looking at the urban forest and interacting with people and trees a bit later in my career. But I do feel like I'm helping far more people than if I had a job on the side of a mountain way out in the middle of nowhere.
That makes a lot of sense, but being on the side of a mountain's not a bad thing either.
No.
So, Jessica, I know our listeners are concerned for the environment, but, you know, many times they don't know what they can do. Can you talk a little bit about what programs and opportunities are available to help them that the county offers?
Yes. The amazing thing about Montgomery County is that we have many programs that help you find what you can do based on the topics and interest of who you are, what you have available, and your income and availability. One thing that everyone can take advantage of is reducing your amount of energy that you use. And if you have your home or throughout the county, you can take advantage of a quick home energy checkup where we'll have you contact one of your utilities, and a provider from the utility comes and does a walkthrough of your property with you and shows you places that you can reduce energy, including low flow shower heads, including energy efficient lighting. You can get, and they give different objects to you that help you reduce your energy footprint as part of the walkthrough, and it's at no additional cost to the residents.
You know something, it's funny. I don't think, we don't think about shower heads. And that's such a huge, output of water and energy. I would never, most people wouldn't think about that.
And the shower heads you receive are high efficiency, but you don't lose the pressure. But it just concentrates the water, so it takes less energy and water. So you're doing both things for the environment.
Oh, absolutely. So does the county have any green buildings, and are there plans to build more?
Well, the county, our Department of General Services is doing amazing things, putting green roofs, solar panels, partnering to reduce the footprint of county buildings. And there throughout the county, there are private businesses that are getting it's smart business to be green.
Absolutely.
And so both the county's doing it to reduce the amount of energy that we use as well as water and our footprint. But there are businesses, we have a green business certification program through county government that recognizes businesses that are doing things for the environment. So being able to both recognize, yes, the county are doing these things, but also businesses that you can find in your community. I think on our green business website, you can look up a dentist, there's accountants, there's catering companies, all those different types of businesses that are doing amazing things.
Now let me go back for just a quick minute. I want to talk a little bit more about the home energy checkup. What other types of things can the representative share with residents that when they come out to do the home energy checkup? Is there actually a checklist that they go by?
Yeah, they basically talk you through the different sort of energy vampires that take energy throughout the day, such as leaving your computer on all day long, or leaving the TV and the PlayStation, any of that sort of equipment that you might have. So what you can get is, as part of the checkup, they'll even provide power strips that are smart power strips that'll help reduce energy. And you can even have them, I believe there are some that can work on time, but you can talk to the person who provides the quick home energy checkup. If you contact your utility, and in Montgomery County, Pepco, BG&E, Potomac Edison, contact your utility and say that you want to request a checkup, and they'll schedule the appointment and come to you. So this is actually a program that is done across the state. It's not provided by the county, but what we do with the county is we try to educate as many people as possible to take advantage of this. There's no reason that all of the county homes that all the residents are not already taking advantage.
I would imagine that you and Laura's homes are probably pretty efficient by this time.
Yeah, I went through and did all the switch to LED light bulbs to reduce that, where I live, I actually live in the District of Columbia. We're on a master meter, so I don't see the energy footprint. But what you can still do, even if you're in that situation, is to go through and just think, oh, can I switch out the light bulbs to something LED when my light bulb burns out? Am I using power strips? What can I do? Even if you're not seeing your bill, you can still think about those. And my husband and I did that as well.
Well, we've done a little of that, my husband and I, so I think we have a lot more room to go, though. And special shout out to Mr. David Dice, the Department of General Services Director. He has done a really outstanding job of making sure that buildings are green and doing some really wonderful things with the county buildings. So we're very happy and very proud of all the work that Director Dice is doing. Hello again, listeners, and thank you for tuning into Montgomery Mosaic on Talk Radio 1450 WOL. I'm your host, Deborah Milo, and today I have the pleasure of talking to Jessica Jones and Laura Miller from the county's Department of Environmental Protection. Now, we're talking about various programs offered by the county that we can take advantage of to help improve the environment. Now, earlier I mentioned something about spring, and you know what that means. That means all kinds of, things gardeners are going to be getting out there, and I am not an avid gardener, but I do enjoy gardening. Jessica, can you talk about some of the programs for our gardeners? And maybe there's one term I want you to explain. What is a rainscape?
A rainscape is basically an environmental feature, a landscaping feature that not only benefits the environment by storing storm water, they can also they can also beautify your property and reduce pollution that is going into our streams. So when we say a rainscape, that includes rain gardens, conservation landscaping. It actually also includes rain barrels, green roofs. So what it is that you can look at your property and say, okay, what are some of the places on our lawn that collect standing water, and how can we do landscaping to reduce the standing water and reduce what goes into our local streams. So commonly, a lot of people put in conservation landscaping, which is native plants that collect and absorb water, as well as rain gardens.
Now, see, that's a lot. That's really something else. So tell me something. What tips can you offer for gardeners that are preparing to go outside, to take care of their gardens? Any tips that you can provide as far as, especially with the weather transitioning the way it is? Someone said the other day in passing, I heard them say, Mother Nature has been very bipolar lately. So, that's not a bad description. Anything you can offer to gardeners that the county might have that are programmatic?
Well, think about your garden through the larger ecosystem. Your garden is not alone. You're as part of a community of other gardens happening throughout Montgomery County, across the country, as well as the fact that your garden is near our local streams. That in the county we have a beautiful Stream Valley Park system.
Yes, we do.
And so even though you might not be adjacent to one, you're nearby. So think of your garden as an ecosystem. So what can you do to benefit that? You can plant native plants that help, like I said, with rainscapes to absorb stormwater and water running off your property. There's even rebates up to $2,500 for residential properties to do that. Planting native pollinators that support our migratory butterflies that are going to be coming in, the monarch butterflies, planting milkweed. We have, some people might not like them, but our bees are very important.
Absolutely.
And so planting plants that are positive for local bees. A lot of gardeners go through and they collect yard trim. You'll get leaves and twigs. We have a program through our Division of Solid Waste Services to provide yard trim compost bins to residents. So you can pick them up for free from different stores, and you can go to Whole Foods around the county. There's libraries, community centers, and the transfer station. You can go pick up a free yard trim compost bin. So those are different things. So being able, what I'd say is think of your garden is not just where you are, it's how you fit into what's happening around in our community.
I think that's so well said. And, very rarely, well, I can't say that. Gardeners may not think of it from that perspective, but you've just given everyone a new perspective and way to embrace their gardens now. This is Montgomery Mosaic on Talk Radio 1450 WOL. I'm Deborah Milo, your host, and we're glad you've joined us today. My guests are Jessica Jones and Laura Miller from the Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection. We're having a great discussion about things we can do to help our lawns and the environment to get ready for spring. I want to talk a little bit about April being Earth Month, and that's a big deal. What exactly is Earth Month, and what can residents look forward to?
Well, we like to say Earth Day is every day, and then April, every day is Earth Day, especially in April. We made the whole month. Yeah, we make the whole month into being Earth Day. So Earth Day, April 22nd, which is a Saturday this year. But having everything to celebrate the environment into one day, it's just not enough for us.
Of course
so
not.
we turn the entire month of April into a big celebration. And so we're having different events each week, and we're actually this year trying to have theme weeks to highlight the different topics. And just like we talked about today, there's so many ways that you can make an impact on the environment, whether it's reducing energy, and then transportation is another one. Transportation and the connection between how we get to and from our jobs and around the community, how that relates to the environment. Then we have recycling and solid waste, and then trees and water. And so we're having a bunch of events in the county, both that the county's hosting and our partners are hosting, throughout April, everything culminating in the Montgomery County Green Fest on May 6th. Oh my God, the first time saying it and I got the month wrong. May 6th for the Montgomery County Green Fest. And you can come to it's going to be in Bora Park in Gaithersburg.
I love that park.
From 11 to 4. We're taking over the whole outdoor field with tents and exhibitors, and there'll be activities for kids. So bring the whole family to learn about new programs to help the environment, some of the ones we talked about today and other ones, as well as to just celebrate the fact that there's so many county residents and businesses who are doing amazing things for the environment. So,
and is there a website?
Yes, MontgomeryCountyGreenFest.org. And then the programs that we talked about today, you can find them all on mygreenmontgomery.org.
So you know that I'm more than likely going to ask you to repeat that when we come back to the second half of the show. This is Montgomery Mosaic on Talk Radio 1450 WOL with your host, Deborah Milo. And today my guests are Jessica Jones and Laura Miller from the Department of Environmental Protection. I'm getting like you, Jessica. Listen, they're sharing some great information about some of the programs the county's offering for folks to get ready for spring and to green. So after the break, we'll talk trees with Laura Miller. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Montgomery Mosaic. This is your host, Deborah Milo, and I have the pleasure of talking to Laura Miller here from the Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection. Laura's going to talk trees with us today. Laura, welcome. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. Now, next month is the 2-year anniversary of the Tree Montgomery program. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Can you explain to our listeners what Tree Montgomery is and how they can take advantage of the program?
Well, it's a wonderful new program in Montgomery County where we're providing residents of Montgomery County with free shade trees. We'll come to the property, your property, or wherever you would like the tree planted, and we'll meet with you maybe for about a half an hour. We'll spend with you trying to decide where and what species would be best for you and your family and your property, and then we'll install the tree. They're pretty good-sized trees, so you'll feel like you have something when it's first planted, and then we'll teach you how to take care of it. We'll also provide a couple of years of aftercare if you would like, where we would water the tree, trim it, add some mulch to it, and adjust the guards for deer protection and stakes if needed. We'll provide all of this for free. So it's really a great program geared towards increasing the amount of canopy and large trees that we have here in Montgomery County.
So now, what types of properties have you planted trees at already?
Most of the properties we plant on, in fact, 60% of where we plant are in people's backyards, in their front yards,
nice.
On private property. All of our trees go on private property, and the rest of them go on places like communities that have apartments or townhouses or HOA property in single-family communities. We also plant on organizations, like nonprofit organizations. We put some trees in for Girl Scouts as well as for churches and other types of faith-based properties. So we really can put them anywhere in the county except for very few places, including the right-of-way. There are other programs for planting trees in the right-of-way, and then in the cities of Gaithersburg and Rockville are not eligible. Everywhere else in the county on private property, we're eligible.
So what's been the response from those receiving trees so far? Well,
it's amazing on both ends. People are just awed by the fact that we're giving away this service and all of these wonderful free trees. And so we have an overwhelming response, and we have a bit of a wait line. But when trees are planted and people get their trees, they're also overwhelmed by how wonderful the tree is and the process that's gone through. We do a lot of hand-holding so that our trees are very successful in the long run, and people are just amazed by it.
Yeah, who doesn't love a tree?
I was about to say the same thing. And I asked you earlier, Laura, if you were a tree hugger, and you said, no one ever called me that to my face.
That's true, but I'm sure a number of people do to my back. And, there are trees, there are definitely times when trees need to be removed, and there are trees that absolutely need to be removed. But with the planning that goes into our trees before they're planted, when we meet with the family and spend some time figuring out where in the yard and where to best place it, what species is best, then we significantly increase the chance of that tree being something that's livable for a long time, meaning that you can live with it, the homeowners can live with it, as well as the tree can live in that space.
I agree. You also provide guidance to residents on tree care. What's the number one question that you get from folks about trees?
I think we get lots of questions, and they're really quite varied as people are.
I'm
sure. I think the number one answer is always to just try. Pay attention to the tree and add mulch to it. Mulching a tree can solve a lot of environmental problems for the tree. It helps conserve water. It helps adjust the temperature of the soil. It helps keep the lawnmowers and kind of mechanical damage away from the tree. It also is one of the best fertilizers we can provide.
It is. Yes,
it is. So I think mulching a tree would be the number one answer to just about everything.
But then how to mulch properly is a big lesson which I did not know, and Laura taught me.
Okay, now wait a second. You just opened a Pandora's box. What is the right way to mulch? That's a great question.
Well, it is a great question because too much of a good thing can be bad in this instance. If you have too much mulch, it can provide some other benefits that perhaps we don't want trees to have.
Okay.
So, what I provide people with is 3 by 3 by 3 kind of guidelines. You want about 3 inches deep.
Right.
You want a circle that's 3 feet wide around the tree, and then you want the mulch to be at least 3 inches from the stem, so the mulch is not touching the stem. So the 3 by 3 by 3 again is 3 inches deep, 3 feet wide and at least 3 inches from the stem, so it's not touching the tree.
And see, those are important facts to know. Now, let me ask you, and I know that I'm going to, believe it or not, I will get this question when I go back to the office. What advice do you have for listeners who plan on planting trees this year?
If they plan on planting it this spring, I would say hurry up and do it.
Hurry up and do it. Okay, that's what I'm going to tell folks when they ask me.
It's really by far best to plant in the fall.
True.
It gives the tree, time to adjust and grow more roots throughout the winter so that it's much more adapted to the site for the heat of August.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're not giving the tree a lot of time to get prepared for the heat of August.
Mm-hmm.
And so the later into the spring and early summer that you get, the less time the tree has. We stop planting on the last day of April. I often recommend that if folks can stop planting earlier than that, it's even better. But in our Tree Montgomery program, we do not plant between April and September when it starts raining again. So the best time to plant a tree is early or through the winter.
This is Montgomery Mosaic on Talk Radio 1450 WOL. Hello, folks. It's Deborah Milo, your host, and I'm so happy that you had a chance to tune in with us this morning. Now, today I'm talking to Jessica Jones and Laura Miller from the Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection. We're talking about some great stuff, and this time we're talking to Laura because we're talking about trees. Laura, what else can you tell us about trees, such as what are some of the types of trees that you plant when you go to folks' properties?
That's a really great question because our program is a shade tree program. So we are not planting the smaller ornamentals. They're absolutely beautiful and they're essential for our communities, but we are planting the very large shade trees that will grow to be more than 50 feet tall when they're mature. Of course, it takes some time to get there. And they are going to cast a lot of shade on the side of your house, over your deck, on your roof, shade your air conditioners. So the species that we are planting are familiar to most people. We're planting a number of maples, planting quite a number of oaks. We're planting honey locust, black tupelo.
Very nice.
We have about 35 different species that we plant every season. We have a handful more in our toolkit that we can plant. So, and also about 80%, 85% of those species are native to Montgomery County. We are tending towards the southern species a little bit more for climate change and warmer climates in 100 years when these trees are mature. But we do have quite a range of species. So we look through this list that we have available to us and work with the homeowners to pick one that they can live with for a long time.
And they're beautiful trees, too.
Oh, I'm sure I can imagine they are. So does the homeowner, do they have the opportunity to be able to select the trees from the 35 that you have?
We work very closely with the homeowners to select the species. We help them consider things like whether it's dropping acorns or what color the leaves are in the fall, and whether it has a real thick crown or a more open and airy crown, or whether it has a dark bark color or a light bark color. We consider all of these things, and we work with the homeowners so that they have a tree that they like very much but also will survive in the conditions that they have.
Oh, very valuable information. I know that our time is getting away from us, but I want to ask this one question as we talked about in the green room. Frog watch. I want you to talk a little bit about frog watch and how important it is.
Well, when it comes to environmental education and outreach, we spend a lot of time talking about the programs that homeowners and businesses can take advantage of. But to really have an impact on our environment as a county, we need to educate kids about the importance of the environment and get them to get out there and experience.
Absolutely.
And so Frog Watch is actually a nationwide program that's been around, I think, for about 10 years now. And what the program does is you go out to a pond or a water body and you listen and try to identify the frog species that are found in that location. Right now, the spring peepers have come out, which are one of the early signs of spring, is hence their name. And so they make that call, and the county started doing Frog Watch I think this is the third year of the program, if I'm not mistaken. And we had a training already for new frog watchers.
Right.
But so in preparation for next year, if you would like to be a part of the program, you can go out to the local stream, go out to a pond, another water body, and just listen. And then try to identify. And you can actually listen to the frog sounds online and then see if you can identify them.
Very nice. Very, very nice. Laura, is there anything you want to add to that about the spring peepers?
Well, I do think it's really important to go out and look and listen. At the same time the peepers are out, a lot of the native trees are flowering right now. The maples are in bloom, the sugar maple, the red maple, and the silver maple are blooming. And there are lots of pollinators that are buzzing around those early flowers after having been hibernating all winter long. So there's lots and lots of things to look at. And I think the spring peepers are a signal to all of us to start looking, because spring is waking up.
Spring is waking up. And with that, folks, I wanted to thank my guests today for coming on to the show, Jessica Jones and Laura Miller from the Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, it's not a problem at all. I'm hoping we'll be able to get you to come back at some point.
Well, in fall, we can talk about fall planting.
That sounds like a winner. I'll probably have to ask you to come out to my home personally, believe me. Well, listeners, as always, thank you so much for tuning in and sharing your time with us today. Now, don't forget to tune in again next month for another Montgomery Mosaic on 1450 WOL, WPRS HD2, and of course, worldwide on WOLDCnews.com. Now, till next time, make it a beautiful day and get out there and do something really grand for the environment. Take care.
Listening to Montgomery Mosaic, featuring topics of interest to Montgomery County residents, businesses, and visitors. For more information or a copy of the show, email publicinformation@montgomerymd.gov or call 240-777-6507. Be sure to tune in at this time on the second Wednesday every month for Montgomery Mosaic on 1450 WOL. WPRS, HD2, and worldwide on WOLDCnews.com.